Are we? Oh,
Call our
that'll be fun.
Scott County Fiscal Court business meeting for the 13th of June to order. Appreciate everyone being here. If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll get started. Let us pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Hamilton, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hostetler?
Present.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Corman?
Present.
Mr. Ellison?
Here.
Mr. Pratt?
Here.
Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Mr. Culbertson?
Here.
Judge Covington?
Present. With that, we've established a quorum and we can conduct business. With that said, our first item to consider are the minutes from our previous meeting.
Motion.
Motion from David
Second.
Livingston.
Second.
Second from Mr. Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 5, transfers as presented by Treasurer Michelle Ray. Any questions or comments? Motion from Rick Hostetler.
Second.
Second from Mr. Wallace. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills and hand checks as presented. Questions, comments?
Motion.
Motion from Ryan Pratt. Second from Kelly Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let the record reflect sheriff's fees in the amount of $104,933.09 was submitted, and additionally county clerk's fees in the amount of $181,789.88 were submitted. That leads us to number 8, Sheriff's Settlement Report. Ms. Hamilton, do we just need to read that report?
Cam, do you have that?
I do have that.
I don't know that it needs to be read.
You think it needs to be read or just acknowledged in the record? I can do the bottom line.
Okay.
Scott County Sheriff's Office 2024 tax settlement from Sheriff Tony Hampton, April 15th, 2024 to September 30th, 2024 in Scott Fiscal Court. Franchise taxes $53,115.01. Supplemental additional billings $668. Penalties $51.30. Sheriff's commissions $2,287.96. Total due to Scott County Clerk $51,546.35. Amount paid was $51,546.35. And then the 2024 tax settlement October 1st, 2024 to April 15th, 2025. Sheriff's receipts were $3,880,552.11. Franchise taxes $92,873.04. Supplemental additional billings $4,978.96. Limestone, sand, and gravel billings $614.08. Penalties $7,900.20. Exonerations $4,542.34. Discounts $69,918.87. Delinquent real estate $28,785.24. Delinquent tangible $1,168.40. Delinquent franchise $159.48. Delinquent supplemental additional $356.63. Sheriff's commissions $164,984.47. Refunds $1,049.12. Refunds, that was for the current year. Refunds prior year $2,284.63. So the total due to Scott County Clerk for that period was $3,713,669.21, and the amount paid was $3,713,669.24.
Questions or comments?
I just had a question, and Officer Betson might be able to know the answer. When did the delinquent tax bills go for sale? That's in the fall at some time, right?
I believe so. I'd have to ask Brady. Not as familiar with the taxes issue.
I think that's right. It's about October 1st or something.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking
PDA,
September.
tell me the exact date. Yeah, that might be right.
Yeah.
It's around that time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So with that said, Stacy shares that we have done this both ways with a motion just to approve, acknowledging the receipt. Motion from Rick Hostetler, second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. This leads me to this is a happy occasion, and we're celebrating. Miss Patty Burnside, would you come up here, please? I'm going to make you. Patty. But Patty has been just such an important part of our community, and the library is just it meets so many different people's needs, and so many people use the library, and it's just so important to our community. But you have made it that way in your leadership. Now that you can be, there is no question in my mind. And the way you've gone about your business is just so special, and we truly appreciate what you've done for our community. Really, really thankful to have you. So we're going to read this, and you all just think about the expansion of the library. It's just such a nice facility and draws so many folks. I was telling Patty that my wife took our grandson up for just the little bitty ones. They do 2 or 3 days a week. They gather, and there were like 20 some little kids in there reading and listening to books, and just such an important thing. And then so many people go to the library daily to use the internet, and it's just a gathering place. So, but what you've done is made it that way. And then the partnership that you have done with our county clerk's office for voting centers, when COVID hit, and I hate even bringing up COVID, but it changed, what we were doing, and you stepped right up, and you made that process so much easier for our community by providing the space. So, just those things that people don't really think about, but you have done, and what you've done to make our community better and brighter. So let me read this. Honoring Patty Burnside for a dedicated career of service to the Scott County Public Library. Whereas Patty Burnside is retiring after a 30-year career at the Scott County Public Library, during which she has committed herself to enriching the lives of the citizens of Scott County, and whereas Patty Burnside began working for the library in August 1994 as a part-time library clerk, and quickly became a valuable full-time employee in July of 95 as the library's educational service coordinator. Whereas while working full-time at the library, Patty Burnside took night classes at the University of Kentucky, obtaining her master's in library science in December of 98, and whereas throughout the years, Patty Burnside has worked in numerous roles at the Scott County Public Library, including as library clerk at the circulation desk, leading story times and programming in the children's department, working with teens, and leading the adult services in the department. Whereas Patty Burnside served as the assistant director before serving as the interim director in 2016, and since November 15, 2017 has served as the director of the Scott County Public Library. Whereas during her years of service, Patty Burnside has helped the library through 3 construction projects, including a move from Main Street to its current location in 99, and major renovations in 14 and 21. Now, therefore, let it be known that the Scott County Fiscal Court Judge Executive Joe Cody hereby honor and praise Patty Burnside for a long career of distinguished and dedicated service to the Scott County Public Library.
Thank you.
I'm sure there could have been a page 2 if you would have written in it.
David, you're right. Once you all come up, and let's all take one together. And then Patty has our new director, and we're going to let her introduce our new director. Thank you. Let's give her another hand.
So, they said I could have a few minutes. last night I was talking to my granddaughters, all of whom are teenagers, and they said, well, how's it going? And I said, oh, it's going great. And how many more days do you work? And I said, I have 6 more days to work. And anyway, and I said, well, tomorrow I'm going to the fiscal court. And I said, did you get arrested? I never had to go into this governmental lecture to them, well, all of them. But thank you so much. You know, they always say, you know, you'll never work at that. If you love what you do, it's not, you're never actually at work. And I've loved what I've done for 31 years. And so it's just a part of me, and I know it'll be a huge adjustment. But I feel really, really good about leaving because our library board of trustees hired an outside consulting firm out of Ohio. And this firm works only with libraries. And they did a nationwide search. And there were 30 applicants, 19 of whom had the qualifications to apply. And it was a months-long process of interviews and phone interviews and Zoom interviews and extra background checks, I mean, the whole 9 yards. And then 3 candidates actually came in person to interview for the job. And all along I was hoping that my choice would be the one that was selected. And she was. So it gives me really great pleasure to introduce Elizabeth Kozlowski. She's sitting right here in the back. She comes to Scott County. She's already bought a house in Georgetown. She comes to Scott County from White House, Tennessee, which is a small town north of Nashville, where she was the library director there for 12 years. So she's had a lot of great experience, and I'm not just saying this because she's sitting here. I feel really, really confident that she's going to carry on the whole community service aspect of the library. So thank you all. You've been wonderfully supportive through the years. I can't tell you how much that's meant to us. Everybody in the whole county system, whether you need help from Mike Hennigan or the sheriff and all of you all, you've just been tremendous assets. Thank you so much. This
Thank
means a
you.
lot.
Any comments from anyone? Thank you again, Patty, and much, much appreciated. With that said, then, we will move to number 10, Resolution 2508 KPDI grant. Our friend, colleague Jack Connors here. And I tell you what, I'm just going to ask Cam to go ahead and read the resolution, and it's pretty straightforward. And then if we have any questions, then we can navigate through those questions. Cam?
Yes, sir. All right, Scott County Fiscal Court, Resolution Number 2508, a resolution authorizing the Scott County Fiscal Court to provide local matching funds and serve as the grantee for the Kentucky Product Development Initiative grant as awarded for the Lanes Run Business Park Phase 3 project, and further authorizing the judge executive to sign all necessary documents related to this grant. Whereas the Kentucky Product Development Initiative, or KPDI program, a collaboration between the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development and the Kentucky Association for Economic Development, is a statewide effort to help communities be better positioned to attract jobs and business investment. And whereas Scott County United Incorporated applied to the KPDI program seeking state funding in the amount of $991,920 for the land grading and site development of 88.5 plus or minus acres at the Lanes Run Business Park, the project. And whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court and the City of Georgetown, Kentucky have each authorized matching funds of $100,000, and Scott County United Incorporated has authorized matching funds in the amount of $47,980 for a total local match of $247,980. And whereas the herein contemplated KPDI funding and local matching contributions shall supplement the previously awarded KPDI grant of $1,500,000 and local match of $1,500,000 for the project. And whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court deems it to be in the public interest to cooperate in the KPDI program as an inducement to locate industries at the Lanes Run Business Park and to create jobs within the community. And whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court's matching funds are currently available in the Lanes Run Business Park account, now therefore be it resolved by the Scott County Fiscal Court that the Scott County Fiscal Court will provide $100,000 in local matching funds for the project described herein. It is understood that the City of Georgetown, Kentucky and Scott County United Incorporated will also provide $100,000 and $47,980 respectively in local matching funds for a total of $247,980 in local matching funds as required by the KPDI program. The Scott County Fiscal Court will serve as grantee of the KPDI funds, and the City of Georgetown will serve as the beneficiary during the administration of the KPDI grant funds at the local level, assuming approval by the Georgetown City Council. The Scott County Fiscal Court's obligation to provide local matching funds and serve as grantee shall be conditioned upon the City of Georgetown's authorization of its matching funds and confirmation that it will serve as the beneficiary. The Scott County Fiscal Court's obligation to provide local matching funds shall be further conditioned upon approval for funding consideration of the Economic Development Fund, or EDF, application by the Kentucky Development Finance Authority, or KEDFA. The Scott County Judge Executive is hereby authorized to sign any and all necessary documents on behalf of the Scott County Fiscal Court. The Scott County Fiscal Court is hereby authorized and directed to certify thereto this resolution approved this 13th day of June 2025.
Having these funds to help provide for the site grading, prep, and just make us have the opportunity to have more product that is available for us to market Georgetown, Scott County, and the Lanes Run Business Park is a big game changer. And, you know, it's 88.5 acres, some change, but that gives us additional flexibility, additional opportunity, and such. What questions or comments would anyone have?
So, just a comment, I guess. When you're talking about the grading and so forth, it's kind of like getting that property and those lots shovel ready. That's what this accomplishes.
It'll accomplish it at a better level. Phase, the first $3 million project only had about 50,000 cubic yards of dirt. This adds an additional 85,000 cubic yards of dirt to move. So that's exactly that's our intent. We actually are redoing the documents themselves, the construction documents, as well as making sure that we can use this money to make it more pad ready. Yep, so that's correct.
Absolutely. Other questions or comments? Would there be a motion? Motion from Dave Livingston, second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Judge.
That leads us to the next item on our agenda. I'm sorry?
Before you slide out, Patty, I just noticed your proclamation says 30 years and not 31. I'll get that changed. We prepared it 6 months ago, and then I think they begged you to stay.
You stayed around, Patty, and
I'll get it changed.
we'll get it to you. No, it does. And Stacy's a stickler on details. So we will go to 2509, and 2509, Lanes Run Business Park fee payment. And I'll ask Cam to read the resolution.
A lot of reading today.
Yes, you are.
All right, Scott County Fiscal Court Resolution Number 2509, a resolution approving the withdrawal of funds from the Lanes Run Business Park Expansion Fund in the amount of $72,436.43 to pay for the Scott County Fiscal Court's share of the sewer privilege fee as part of the development of Lanes Run Business Park Phase 3. Whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court, or Scott County, and the City of Georgetown, Kentucky, or the city, have entered into an interlocal agreement for sharing costs for the expansion of the Lanes Run Business Park and providing for allocation of lot sales revenues or agreement. And whereas pursuant to the agreement in Section 2.5, Business Park Expansion Fund means funds deposited into the city's Business Park Fund from lot sale proceeds after the date of the agreement. And whereas pursuant to the agreement at Section 5.21, funds from the Business Park Expansion Fund may be used to fund utility infrastructure development costs, costs of future business park expansions, and any costs related to the business park upon which Scott County and the city mutually agree. And whereas pursuant to the agreement at Section 5.22, if either the city or county desires to withdraw funds from the Business Park Expansion Fund for general fund purposes, such action shall only occur with approval of the legislative bodies of both parties. And whereas as part of the development of Lanes Run Business Park Phase 3, the city is required to pay a sewer privilege fee in the amount of $144,872.86 pursuant to Privilege Fee Agreement 13 with Georgetown Municipal Water and Sewer Service, or GMWSS. And whereas in accordance with the interlocal agreement, the cost of the sewer privilege fee will be funded jointly by the city and Scott County. And whereas Scott County desires to withdraw $72,436.43 from the Lanes Run Business Park Expansion Fund to pay its 50% share of the sewer privilege fee. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Scott County Fiscal Court that in accordance with the above described interlocal agreement, the Scott County Fiscal Court hereby approves withdrawing $72,436.43 from the Business Park Expansion Fund to pay its 50% share of the sewer privilege fee described herein. In accordance with Section 5.22 of the interlocal agreement, this action shall also require the approval of the Georgetown City Council this 13th day of June 2025.
So, questions or comments?
I'll make a motion for the privilege of sewer.
Thank you. We have that privilege. Second from Kelly Corman. Any other comments?
Just procedurally, I'm going to, assuming this gets approved, we will send an executed copy to the city, and I think they're going to take it up at their next meeting.
Okay.
So,
Any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That leads us to Resolution 2510, Resolution 2428 extension. And Master Wallace and you, Master Jones, have been attending these.
Oh, yeah.
Any comment that you'd like to share before we read the resolution?
Just that we are at the point where we are now reviewing draft ordinances, and that's at the point where we're at. We've had great contribution from all different facets of the committee, and that's just kind of where we're at. We're trying to hammer out a few things that we're trying to do a little bit more research on, something that Master Pratt had talked about. We were during this RV discussions was the bonding and insuring the septic systems and all that type of thing. So we're trying to get those I's dotted before we send something to the respective bodies.
Appreciate that. Anything else? All right. This will essentially extend out the moratorium on acceptance and review of applications for establishment of RV campgrounds for 2 more months. So, Cam, if you want
Yes,
to
sir.
read it, and it's pretty cut and dry.
Scott County Fiscal Court Resolution 2510, a resolution to extend a moratorium on the Georgetown Scott County Planning Commission's acceptance and review of applications for the establishment of RV campgrounds. Whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court adopted Resolution 2428 on December 27, 2024, which established a 6-month moratorium on the Georgetown Scott County Planning Commission's receipt and review of applications for the establishment of RV campgrounds in Scott County, Kentucky. And whereas the Planning Commission needs additional time to complete the tasks outlined in Resolution 2428 described herein, now therefore be it resolved by the Scott County Fiscal Court as follows, that the 6-month moratorium established in Resolution 2428 on the Georgetown Scott County Planning Commission's receipt and review of applications for the establishment of RV campgrounds in Scott County, Kentucky is hereby extended for an additional 2 months, and that all the other terms of Resolution 2428 remain in full force and effect this 13th day of June 2025.
Questions or comments? Would there be a motion? Motion from
Second.
Chad Wallace, second from Rod Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That leads us to number 13, ordinance 2501, second reading budget. I'll ask Cam to go ahead and read that.
Okay. Ordinance 2501, an ordinance relating to the annual budget and appropriations. Be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Scott County, Kentucky. Section 1, the following budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026 and the amounts stated are appropriated for the purposes indicated. Budget of Scott County, fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, summary analysis of appropriations. In the general fund, general government's $13,132,578. Protection to persons and property is $18,378,439. General health and sanitation, $1,341,450. Social services, $777,031. Recreation and culture, $2,180,813. Airport operations, $80,000. Debt service, $342,110. Capital projects, $580,500. And administration, $14,391,516, for a total general fund of $51,204,437. The road fund for roads, $4,179,060. Capital projects, $350,000. And administration, $1,898,720. So a total road fund, $6,427,780. The jail fund, protection to persons and property, $3,974,383. Social services, $100,000. Administration, $2,109,935 for total jail fund of $6,184,318. LGEA fund, protection to persons and property, $216,408, and roads, $200,000. So total LGEA fund is $416,408. Federal forfeiture fund, general government, $3,685, administration, $500. Total federal forfeiture fund, $4,185. ABC regulatory fund, general government, $30,700. So total in that fund is $30,700. Opioid settlement fund, social services is $310,000. Administration is $100,000. So total opioid settlement fund is $410,000. County clerk storage fund, general government is $205,000. Administration is $100,000. So total county clerk storage fund is $205,100. The McCracken fund, social services is $2,000. So total in that fund is $2,000. The hospital trust fund, social services is $2,000. So total in that fund is $2,000. In the capital improvements fund, debt service is $1,111,000. Capital projects is $5,210,580, and administration is $501,000. So total capital improvements fund is $6,822,580. So the total of budget appropriations, total general fund, $51,204,437. Total road fund, $6,427,780. Total jail fund, $6,184,318. Total LGE fund, $416,408. Total federal forfeiture fund, $4,185. Total ABC regulatory fund, $30,700. Total opioid settlement fund, $410,000. Total county clerk storage fund, $205,100. Total McCracken fund, $2,000. Total hospital trust fund, $2,000. Total capital improvements fund is $6,822,580. So the grand total of all funds is $71,709,508. Section 2, this ordinance shall be published in the newspaper by title and summary within 30 days following adoption. Section 3, this ordinance becomes effective upon passage and publication. First reading was done on May the 22nd, 2025, and the second reading is today, June 13th, 2025.
Questions or comments? Do want to make a comment. I appreciate everyone's hard work on this process and your efforts. I think we work very hard to do a very thorough job, be good stewards of tax dollars, work collaboratively with our constitutional officers and partners, and trying to meet the needs of our community now and in the future. And this budget reflects a 3% cost of living adjustment for our employees. Does not negatively impact our employees' benefits. They stay at the same level. That's very, very important and something that we can't forget. I mean, we make that a priority in this process. And, I think the funding that we and the work that we go into, looking at the market and making sure our compensation levels are where they need to be to make Scott County a location for employing people and retaining people, recruiting people. It's just so important. The function of county government is to provide services to our community, and the most important piece of that are our people. And I think we have a great team. We have great people that work very hard day in and day out, and I think this budget reflects that commitment to our people and our community. We're adding some law enforcement. We're adding a fire marshal position that will help protect our community, I think, as well, with additional inspections, additional SRO positions, and I think those are priorities, and I think that's what this budget does. Comments from magistrates.
I'll make a comment. Being on the budget committee, and we really did dig into every line item. There's nothing on here that I don't think we didn't talk about or look at or try to decide what was the best way to spend money. And when you get into a budget that's, you know, 50, 60, 70 million dollars, line items get important. And I just want to make sure everybody knows that we spend a lot of time and really try to make sure there's not waste in here. So that's my comment.
Appreciate it, Kelly. Appreciate your efforts.
I know you
Rick
mentioned.
Hostetler.
Well, you mentioned several staffing positions. Also, we added, I think, 2 or 3 positions at planning and zoning.
Yes.
It all speaks to the growth of
Yeah.
our county, and that's my point. Because I don't think, since I've been on the court, that we've added any staffing at planning and zoning. And of course, we all know the growth and the work. The workload has definitely grown for that department. So just want to make that comment.
I didn't mention that we're also adding some additional part-time staff at JR for summer work. So appreciate all the road department's efforts. And, you know, just you think about over the course of the year, you know, how many times JR and their team's been out, Mike Hennigan, their team, the coroner's office, sheriff and fire, all the runs that they do, EMS, you know, and last year's budget was heavy on capital. This year, you know, reflects we're, you know, we've got that a little bit behind us. We're going to try to focus on just providing services, and I think that's what this does. Any other comments? So, motion, second from Dwayne. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all. Next, interlocal agreement with Bluegrass Workforce. So, as required under the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, interlocal agreement has been developed and must be executed by each county in our area to ensure continued eligibility for workforce development funding. This agreement formalizes the collaboration between counties, outlining the administration of workforce programs, the governance of the chief elected officials, and the responsibilities and financial fiscal obligations of each jurisdiction. So this is just an update to that. It's not something totally new. It's just an update, and I shared that document and would be happy to try to answer any questions related to that. But this is just it's a Bluegrass Area Development District initiative, and would be happy to entertain any motion. Motion from Dwayne Ellison. Second from Rob Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Great Crossing Park equipment purchase. We have shared information related to this from Miracle of Kentucky and Tennessee. I have met with Monica from Brandstetter Carroll on Wednesday morning at the site. She was looking at just what we're proposing and trying to give us guidance about the siting of the particular location. She's still working on that, so we'll bring that back to you all once I get additional information. But we have $150,000 in this year's budget, and what I would like to recommend consideration of the court is purchasing up to $150,000 worth of equipment. And I think there's been, concern and comment about what type of surface to install. I think at this time, I would like to recommend that we just eliminate that crumb rubber from the purchase. I know that Drew is a strong advocate of the pour and play or the artificial turf to go in. And Drew's I told Drew the other day, I said, Drew, you're here advocating for what you think's best, and that's what you should do. So I respect, him advocating for that. But on the flip side, we have to look holistically at what we're doing, and some of our magistrates feel like, it might be better well served, and, simpler is better, and that's wooden mulch. It's used widely across many different places. So what I would propose is just a motion to approve a purchase of up to $150,000 worth of equipment. And, that colored crumb rubber mulch is like $21,250. So we might be able to find another piece of equipment that we could put in on this order before we move forward. But the big thing is the bigger tower that we saw in the flyer, the smaller play structure, some swings, and then there was a spinner. So I would be grateful for any comments or questions from you all.
How does the area look as far as being able to prep and not get into extra costs on that?
So JR and I have been out there many times, and
Like rock is what I'm talking about.
well, that's a great question. We haven't.
You're gonna hit rock.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
We haven't done any geo.
Okay.
We haven't done any of that.
I just didn't know if you remember, because we took that parking lot all the way to the end, what that might, if that, when we were doing the parking lot.
Going deep enough to get into any rock, but
Okay.
the road department will put a rock falls in
But really, what I'm thinking, in respect to, take guidance from Monica and them, but the two locations that we'll either go at is at the end of that second parking lot that we put in that's next to that hillside, or go back up on the hillside as you come in next to the entrance path. That's kind of the other spot. And, the reason I advocate for the spot next to the hillside that's in between the two parks is that I really think, we can purchase this, install this, and then do a phase 2 that would incorporate the hillside and put in some slides on the hill, some climbing structures, and then some tiered seating. And then what I thought is to go along the crest of the hill and plant some shade trees. So eventually you would have the shaded seating area, and people could overlook the playground area and that hillside. And Monica's making sure that we can do that without having a big mess of how to get to that other field. And, I think our goal is what we've talked about, and what Drew would recommend as a priority for capital projects. I think Drew, come on up. Would you recommend, if we were looking at capital projects, one of the priorities would be additional softball, baseball youth fields? We're
Priority one, yeah.
that's priority one. We're bursting at the seams and need more fields.
Correct.
And then I think 1A you would say is a big playground overhaul at Brooking Park.
Yep.
So, what questions or comments does anybody have about authorizing a purchase? As we've talked about.
Just a comment that all this happened before my arrival on the court. And this just goes to show the vision of the court to improve this park. It's going to be the nicest park in the area, in my opinion. Surrounding counties, when you drive by there in the afternoons and see all the people out walking, fishing, playing in the creek, playing ball, it's just going to enhance that park even more. And that's what we're supposed to do.
I
They
agree.
revealed the first phase, Chad. Was it 98, or not 98, good Lord have mercy, back in the 1900s. No, is it 18?
18.
18, yeah.
18.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Rob, and I agree with the vision, but I said it back then, I don't think the vision should take 10 years to complete. I mean, not we in particular, but government is really bad at starting projects in phases and then just never finishing the phases because other things come up.
Yeah, I know there's a
And
lot
so
of,
I'm excited about trying to get that done out there and doing other things out there that where we can have a more public gathering space and, you know.
I know there's a lot of little kids looking forward to those extra ball fields going in, so they just,
Judge,
Chad Wallace.
since we're talking about this, I will say that I think it is important that we fulfill our vision, but it's also fine to revise it as well. If we'd originally gone along with what the original plan was, there would have been 8 tennis courts out there. And pickleball has come, and so hesitating a little bit has been to our benefit. So now we are going to be able to have pickleball courts and tennis, and they all work together. And so I think sometimes having it in phases is beneficial as we can edit and revise the vision for that park. On the flip side of things, and David said this, and I agree, we did way underestimated, or at least the architects underestimated on the parking and how we've had to change parking. And Judge, I think we're going to have to, looking at the overall park, we're going to have to look at the parking around the tennis and pickleball as well as over there by the baseball and softball complex as well.
I don't disagree at all, and Monica's looking at that as well. And I think it would be wise for us, we're going to have another interlocal meeting in July 15th, 16th, one of those 2 days.
I'll be out of town. Be on vacation.
But at that meeting, I think that capital projects for Parks and Rec has to be a priority, and I would hope that we could navigate towards engaging Branstad or Carroll to actually giving us some options, designs on baseball, softball fields, and a couple other projects so we can have a true piece of vision on paper and a plan, and then let's execute a plan. That's my thought, and I'd love more comment from you all.
And we're going to do the walking trail as well, right? Monica's working on that as well.
And I told Monica that just on Wednesday that our desire would have a looping trail, but also if you could connect, these fields and connect, the playground, that kind of thing. Part of the phase 2, or part of our consideration, in my opinion, is if you go with a playground next to that little hill, you're going to have to connect the 2 fields by sidewalk, and the only place to do that is right between the 2 parking lots, and there's room there. And then we could put, I don't know if you all, I really like the little short wooden guardrail that would just kind of keep people, in between and little kids in between. I don't think you necessarily have to put up a 4-board plank fence, but that little wooden guardrail is perfect for just keeping people in between the 2 spots, safe. Rick Hostetler.
So, in this vision, where are if and when we build the next Cloverleaf? That's the goal, isn't it?
That would be a goal.
Where's that going to go?
On that upper platform, in that blue spot.
on the blue.
Okay.
And it has to be shifted a little bit. We might have to shift it a little bit, but the court paid for that to be
The initial grade.
the initial grading. Now, it's not.
It's not.
It needs some fine tuning, and here soon we're going to spread that big pile of dirt up there on that top. But it might be wise just to kind of hold until we have a hard plan of where we're going to put that. So that's a great question.
Well, I was out there this morning and I was
Yeah.
looking at it, and everything you just said, I noticed that we're not really that close on the final grade, but yeah, it still leaves us room to shift and do whatever. Just one other comment. So I was at one of my grandsons last weekend in Jessamine County at a park, and It's no different than here, because I've been to our park. There, you just have to park wherever, and literally, and it's huge here, and I'm just wondering where all that future parking is gonna go, because we need it. Everywhere you go to these parks that I've seen, they're mostly lacking in parking. And I think Dwayne and I've talked about this in the past. It's the only bad thing about it is it's only a weekend deal, and then it's all sits over there vacant, but that can't be helped. I mean,
Well, but no, you've got Parks and Rec that play over there.
sure, no,
Yeah,
right.
during the
right.
weeknights. Yeah, but yeah, the park.
But you still
Well,
gotta, you
and
gotta
I think
have
a lot
it.
of, I think what'll happen is when you build more fields, if you still don't have enough parking, it'll overflow over to Great Crossing High School.
Right.
I mean, people walk a long way.
You got to think too, I mean, phase-wise and all the things, nothing gets cheaper when you kick it down the road.
It's true.
It just doesn't get cheaper. Nothing gets cheaper.
Look at John Ward back there shaking his head. Fire trucks don't get cheaper either.
I mean, so whatever the plan is, as much as we can do, when we can do it, we need to do it.
Yeah.
Because you wait a year, 2 years, everything's going to go, 5-10%,
Well,
probably almost every.
Dwayne and I were sitting at the conference, and we were talking about this. And a few years ago, Hellas, a company that was doing some work in the area, kind of was talking to Dwayne about projects at school, talking about here, and they shot us a ballpark, budgetary estimate. And at that time, it was about 7.5, and that's just been a couple years ago, for additional
I
four
think most gave us
fields.
a price too, I need to go back and look.
Yeah, but that included the middle bathrooms, and concessions area, and lighting, and all those things. And what Dwayne's saying is nothing's going to get cheaper, but the need's still going to be there.
And if we can squeeze 5 on there, that upper one, it would make sense to go ahead and squeeze 5.
While
I
you're
would
doing
agree
this.
with that. I would agree with that.
So the other, does Bluegrass Ad have grant services?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, because I think there are philanthropies out there that like to do public parks and stuff, and we've got a blank canvas out there, except for the area that we want to put the other parks, the other fields. I mean, there's a lot. How many acres is out there? Do y'all remember? Anyone?
Person would know.
Yeah, JR left.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But
Okay.
I'll
I mean,
try to-
it's probably over 100 acres or near.
left.
Yeah, what's left? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of
Maybe more on that backside.
for a vision out there for philanthropy or,
No, I think it's all been good discussion. Drew, you have anything to add?
I do.
There be a motion? What?
Motion to, I guess, was $150,000 to purchase the equipment.
Yeah.
With
There be a
Miracle.
second?
With the wood mulch, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that
Or
cost
just
is
equipment?
not going to include the mulch. We'll dance with the mulch later.
Equipment only.
Equipment only. All right, so motion, second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That leads us to turn it over to Cam about county attorney proposal guardianship evaluations.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I asked that this item be placed on the agenda just briefly for your all's consideration. I sent an email about this, so hopefully that answers your all's questions. But one of the functions that our office does is guardianship and conservatorship proceedings. Those proceedings are done in district court where if somebody suffers from a disability, and they're not able to manage their affairs due to cognitive limitations, they can have a guardian or conservator appointed for them. We probably prosecute, or I should say, I guess, handle more like 50 or more of those a year on average, and they're not going to get less as the population continues to increase and also ages. As part of each of those proceedings, it's required that the person that's the respondent be evaluated by a psychologist, a doctor, and a social worker. So with respect to the psychologist, it's been a little bit hard for us to find somebody to do those. We've been using a psychologist named Annette Friel for at least a year or more, I'm not sure. And Ms. Friel does the evaluations, and Stacy's been, paying her from the county's funds as has been previously budgeted. Ms. Friel had notified us, I guess, a few months ago that she was not willing to continue to do these evaluations for Scott County after, starting at the end of the fiscal year. So we've been looking for somebody else to do these, which has been a little bit difficult. It's kind of hard to find somebody, but Ben Willis and Barbie with our office found a psychologist named David Lanier, who I think he does these in Woodford County. That's in our same circuit, and he's willing to do these, and I emailed you all his fee schedule. So I'm asking for approval for that. Now, Stacy pointed out, and she may be right, that this is already budgeted. I think there's $25,000 in the budget for this. So, if your all's position is, hey, use whoever you want, it's within the budget, that's fine too. But wanted to bring to your attention that this would be an upcoming expense. So,
Questions or comments? Would there be a motion? Motion from Rick Hostetler, second from Dwayne. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
thank you.
Thank you, Cam. And all the things that get done in the background that have to be done to help people, this is one of them. Jeff, EMS new hires. Chris?
Yes, good morning. On behalf of Chris Runyon, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of 3 individuals in EMS, 1 full-time and 2 part-time. And as you know, I've been up here many times recommending appointments of EMS workers. This is the first time I've had to do this in 3 months. So
Yeah. That's pretty strong.
it is. So I'm very happy about that. Happy about that for Chris and his team as well. So I'm recommending Alexis Payton as a full-time paramedic to begin employment on Monday, June 16th at $18.39 an hour. And then we also have Chloe Burt and Gavin Betzworth. They'll both be part-time EMTs at $12.40 an hour. So I present that recommendation to you.
Questions or comments? Motion?
Second.
Second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Got my regular question, though.
So what's the regular question?
Standing question.
All right, number
Thank you,
18, EMS software service agreement. Chris, this software administers the community paramedicine program and really connects the dots for multi-services between multiple agencies. And if any of those people that Brandon is working with is hospitalized or such, then it's kind of like gets the notification. I'll let you flesh it out.
One of the biggest advantages for Brandon is that this allows him to do like a hospital-style charting, where the software we have, if we take a patient to the hospital, we write that report up and then close it out, and it's kind of done with.
It's static.
Yeah, he can't keep it open to keep a flow chart of how many times he's visited someone, or their doctor's appointments, if their medical history changes. So that's a real big advantage for him. And then also, if folks have family out of the area, every time he visits, it will send them an email automatically that updates the family on the summary of his visit. And then it'll connect all the homeless shelters, food pantries. So if there's a need, he can send a text and it will go out to mass to everyone. And then whoever responds to that, it'll send another text out to or email out to everybody that says this case has been handled, you can disregard. As well as, like you mentioned, Judge, connecting him with other community paramedic agencies or resources. So
This is in the budget.
it is.
Questions or comments? Motion from Ryan Pratt. Second from Kelly Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That leads us to Fire Department Purchase Contract Pumper. And Zach, will you put up that sheet that we've had previously? And, the big question here is if you go ahead and do a contract in July, that by the time this is delivered, that instead of having a 17-year-old thereabouts reserve pumper, you're going to have an 11-year-old reserve pumper. And and I'll let John speak from here, but John, is that the big, that's where this cuts the rubber, right?
Right, and we're just trying to be, kind of get out in front of this instead of waiting, 2 or 3 years from now and going through this process, because we realize there's, a 3-year delivery time. So we're just,
So if
because
we
right
waited-
now, currently our 2017 that's serving as a frontline pumper, it's good. I mean, we're, no issues whatsoever. We're just trying to plan out ahead because we know of the time it takes to get it.
And, it's just, I'll say again what Dwayne just said, nothing will be less in a year from now or 2 or 3. And yes, we're going to have to make budget plans to pay for it in 3 years, but it's 36 months out, isn't it?
That's right. And, one of the driving factors price-wise for this pumper as well is because it's 3 years out, we are faced with the 2027 emissions motor. That added $80,000 to $100,000 to the price of the truck. And that's solely just the emission standards that, I guess, for the 2027.
No bells or whistles.
No,
Just
it's
emission standards.
Yeah.
Chad Wallace.
Judge, I've been struggling with this because I've been looking for that quantitative measure of when is it appropriate to put a vehicle in or a truck in reserve, and when should we keep it on the front line. And it's fluid. It's a moving target, and it really depends on your fleet and kind of how it's going and how much repairs are going for one truck versus another. But then I agree with what Dwayne has said, and you've said as well, is that it's not going to get any cheaper. And I really admire John doing what he's doing his due diligence. But I'm really struggling of should we have 11-year-old vehicle in reserve, 11-year-old truck? That's where I'm stuck at. And so,
Can you comment on how much a reserve is used? Because what you shared with me is anytime you're changing the brakes, the oil, anytime you're doing any testing or maintenance,
Then that reserve comes up and serves as a frontline pumper or
goes to the front line.
Part of that as well is, and where's the happy medium on putting a truck into reserve? NFPA recommends around the 10-12 year mark. But what I would suggest as well is the two reserves at this point, or that will be there at this point in time, is a 17 and 19. Well, then in 2028, one of those reserves will be a 22-year-old truck and a 20-year-old truck. So basically, you would have two 20-year-old trucks sitting in reserve. That would basically roll out the 07, which would be 22 years old. That would roll that out, and we'd surplus it. So then at that point, in reserve, we would have a 20-year-old reserve truck and an 11-year-old reserve truck. So kind of playing into this as well is getting that 2028, that 22-year-old reserve out of service. Because at that point, it's 22 years old.
I mean, that's a significant factor in my mind.
You can put an antique tag on it then, can't you?
Yeah.
Well,
But
and-
like,
and I-
can I comment before you say?
Yeah.
Right.
But like what John is giving us, like, we've never had this kind of
No.
information before, and it really gives us
doing what he's supposed
data
to do.
and information. And John, I appreciate the job you do and your team. I know it's a team effort, but David, go ahead.
I was just going to say the reason I kind of like the program that John and his team have laid out is because if we get the 11-year-old in reserve, and then let's say the economy, we go through another recession like we did back in 2010, and we don't have the money to order a truck for 3 years, but then you get back to where you can order order a truck, and then all of a sudden you're now 6 years down the road, probably even more than that, because everybody else will be coming out to order when the economy turns around. So it gives us a younger fleet. So if we run into a hiccup from a budgetary standpoint, we can wait a few years to order.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does.
And then can I ask a question? I know Rescue One is your number one used apparatus, but the pumpers, they're right behind it. Is
That's
that right?
That is correct, yes, yeah.
And we bought it, like, what year did Rescue One come on?
21.
21. So, you know, like, we've made a commitment to protecting our community, and I think John's given us the information to make decisions. What
And
other questions or
Another
comments?
big part of it too is getting an 11-year-old truck into reserve. Once you can get it there, it's going to extend the life of even that truck. Talking about what was referenced just now is, the struggle we have currently is by the time we're getting these trucks in reserve and they're already close to the 20-year mark, the dependability of those trucks when they have to step up into that frontline status, it's, because they're, prone to break down. Once they get those years, and it's not just the year of that truck, but looking at the mileage that these things have on, that's another big factor.
Ryan Pratt.
I mean, yeah, I'm fine with, I think it's a good idea. I would even, I know we're 3 years down the road, I would even like to see the idea of maybe even leaving the 11-year on the road longer and moving one of the 2 years into reserve so we don't have to, 15 years from now, we're going to have to pay for, some courts going to have to pay for 3 pumpers all at once. And that, I'd like to try to stagger those time frames out because it's only going to be a astronomical ask. And 15 years from now, if you have to buy 3 pumpers, if we could do something to start trying to stagger those so we're not, or somebody's not 15 years from now.
And I follow what you're saying, but like our hands were tied. Like we had to, in my mind, do what we're doing because you look up there at the top right now where we're at. You've got 8, 16, 18, 20, 20, 27, 28. Look at those. And then 12 down there on the tanker. We had to do something, and we've moved in that right direction. I think Dwayne wanted to say something.
Well, I would prefer to wait one more year, but then I'm going, talking out both sides of my mouth, knowing that's going to cost us more, So, I can go either way.
All right.
Where would this fit in the budget, next budget?
No, we have
We
3
don't
years
budget for 3
before
years.
it's delivered, and we would look, we look where we're at, but we would not have to pay for it until it's delivered,
So
that budget.
Not an early
We-
payment
and
with savings
if
like you
things
did before.
we could do that, but I don't think we need to look at that till after, even after 28,
27
29.
budget, so.
Or 20, 27, 28.
Yeah.
We can look at it then.
Is there, so I know sometimes we've had a scenario where there's one that had been in the manufacturing line before ours, and we were able to, and somebody backed out, and maybe we could purchase that. Is that a possibility that could happen before 27 that could save us money?
Yeah,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
yeah, they have, Pierce periodically has, they built into their production line, they'll put stocks in that.
But is it one that would serve our needs as a county?
Potentially. It's just
Okay.
like I said, like I mentioned last in the work session, the size of the pump, we don't want to sacrifice on
Right.
that. And that independent front suspension, we don't want to sacrifice, but, yes, but the problem is, it's not necessarily a problem, but you're gonna get that truck a lot sooner, and then they're gonna have to pay for it. And basically, it's that 2017, let's just say we got it within the year, well, it's 9 years old, you're putting it in there reserve.
Well, but what I'm thinking, if you avoid the 2027 emissions situation,
That's correct, because we
where
would
you
be-
save $80,000 to $110,000, then it would make sense to go on ahead and do something like that.
That is a possibility.
Okay.
The thing you gotta be ready to move on those is, whenever they put that list out, you have to be ready to sign on the dotted line for them, because if not, if we're waiting for another court meeting, then somebody else is gonna commit to that truck and
So
it'll be gone.
could you ask them if we did this contract and something became available and we wanted to pursue that, like what David's painting a picture of, would they allow us to null and void that?
Basically use the money that we commit to this one
Yeah.
to, yeah, I mean,
Would they allow us to do that?
I could ask the question. Yeah,
Just
I-
over the next year or two, if
Yeah.
something came available that we wanted to pursue, could we pursue that and it take the place of what we're putting in place?
As long as it was a cost savings. If
Yeah,
it's
no,
not a
we-
cost
right,
savings,
yeah.
there's
Still
no
not
use
up to
to.
the plan, though.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm just thinking of 80 to 100,000.
And all I was saying is,
100,010, what's
ask
that?
them if that was the case, could we preserve? So we talked about this.
I guess
Questions
the
or
question
comments?
would be, would you all be, I guess, when do you all want to commit that money? You know, because, for example, Georgetown did something similar to that. I think they basically committed to one in January or February, somewhere in that time frame, and they're getting ready to probably take delivery July or August of that. So it's like a little bit of a 6-month, you know, because technically the truck hadn't even been built yet. But again, you know, they were able to get on that. So I guess, you know, because it would have to be money, you know, when would we want to commit to that? Because that money, you know, as soon as you sign a dotted line within probably 6 months, they're going to be delivering that truck. You know, and I guess that would be something we'd have to amend the budget.
Yeah.
Just as far as.
I think he was just talking in generalities, that if something was available that met our needs.
I mean, if it happened 6 months from now, it's probably not the best time, but if it was a year and a half from
I
now,
got you. Okay. I
then
see what you're saying.
that would make sense.
How much is a pumper?
This one here is, I think it was 1.1, hold on.
A little bit less than 1.1. I've got it right here.
1.189.
1.189, I'm sorry. 1.89612.
And John, you currently have a frontline pumper that's 20 years old right now, right?
Yeah.
And so in theory, if we go
That's
along
number,
with this,
is that E6?
yes. But in theory,
yes.
if we went along with what we're proposing,
It's 05.
we would put a 11-year-old vehicle in reserve. I mean, so
That 05 was a reserve pumper, but we had to move it up to front line because engine 6 was the one that had basically the rust through the frame rails that we had to decommission.
Yeah, I understand.
And you know, I'll go back to saying this question, like, when you say reserve, it's not in the front line bay, but it is up in that front line bay quite a bit because of
the age
maintenance
of our fleet.
and all those different things. So it has to be mechanically sound and dependable.
Yeah.
And having an 11-year-old reserve, in my mind, because it's just not reserved for one pumper. It's reserved for multiple pumpers.
John, is it just to help us have that view, I guess, of what a reserve is there a way to collect data on that, like how much use it gets? I don't want to somebody just.
How many, like what you're asking is, how many days does it spend in the active role?
Right.
So maybe you can collect that over the next 6 months and report back.
But I also don't want it to be just some burdensome thing too. I mean, I don't.
The other thing I think about too is if we had to add a fire station in the next 5 to 7 years, those that are in reserve could possibly go into the new station if you have newer vehicles and not have to come out and spend what could be $3 million.
Look at Rob Joseph.
Which my opinion, we do need a fire station. I'll say that right now. We do need a fire station.
Is there a motion?
You're welcome, Rob.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
So,
I said if.
Any other questions or comments?
I think it's the right thing to do, and I'll make that motion.
Motion, second from Rick Hostetler. All those, any other questions or comments?
No, sir.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Sick leave buyback policy. Jeff, I appreciate you working on this and then having it reviewed and feedback from the court. And are there any questions related to this? Jeff, any comments you'd like to make?
No, just as a reminder, of course, this is just an additional benefit to reward employees with consistent regular work attendance. It's, as you indicated earlier, it's another effort to enhance our retention efforts here with Scott County. And it's another example of our commitment to our workforce by putting this in place. And I think there's some general consensus that we were looking at 60 days because of how it meshes with the Family Medical Leave Act, and it ensures a person has a sufficient balance of sick leave should something really bad happen in a person's life or their family. So any questions or anything else that you'd like to know about the policy?
So we would need a motion just to approve the policy, and it'll be then updated into our
handbook, and I'll communicate this specifically with our employees sometime next week.
And then, Jeff, can you just
start July? Well, it starts July 1, but really, we wouldn't be asking for buyback purchases until November. So it really would take effect later this year, this calendar year.
So while we've got you, you and I have talked about this, but can you share with the court, you and Kara have been more the letters that have to go out about the change in compensation and all that? Can you share what your schedule is?
Absolutely. The way I do all this is I have a spreadsheet that maintains all the compensation data. Then I have a Word document with multiple different versions of the letter. I think we have 5 different versions of letters based upon all the different types of pay increases we have coming to us this year. So my plan would be to have all those letters. I'll start working on them today since the budget got approved. I'll start working on those today. I would think I could probably have the letters done by the middle of next week. I planned on sending those out to employees that following week, which I think is the week of June 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Is that the Monday?
Yes.
So anyhow, during that week, so people will have their letters well before July 1st. July 5th is the first day of the pay period in the new fiscal year. So that's when the pay increase will be effective. And if I'm not mistaken, the Friday that it'll be reflected on their earning statements is July 25th. So that July 25th check is, I believe, when they'll see an increase in their pay.
David?
I just like the judge was talking about, we've never done this before with the pumper trucks, the fire department, all that. I appreciate the creative ideas that you're bringing that we've never done before to provide other opportunities for employees to reap the benefit of being at work every day and being able to have that buyback and a little extra money every now and then if they want it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, it's a motion.
I'll say.
Kelly Corman with a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
And then new business, I'd like the court to consider moving our work session from July 4th to July 3rd at 9 a.m.
Can we put on the meeting announcement or whatever we can do that some of us may join virtually?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, we do.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then, JR, because we've talked with Hinkle a little bit, I don't think anybody has any problem with this, but I'm just going to mention it. Once the ordinance is published, we can go ahead. I know Hinkle wanted to get started on some of our county road projects. I'm going to authorize JR to communicate, hey, once it's published, they can go ahead and start planning, to get those 12 miles of roads paved, because time's a ticking, isn't it?
Yes.
And if they can
everything backed up everywhere else.
fit that in, so we'll move forward with that and appreciate that. Any other new business from anyone here?
I was just gonna say, I also looked up that price on ball fields from Moats. They said it was like $3.5 million probably-ish for four.
For four.
It was like $2 million to go back and turf the four we already have. So 3.5 million-ish, probably, I would guess, 3.5 to 4 at this time. That was a few years back.
And the Moats Group is the one that did a lot of work for the school system.
Yeah, I've seen them do a lot of work across the state.
Yeah.
A lot in Ohio.
So that's a good source.
Yeah, very.
And then pickleball, the asphalt's down. Bailey with Hinkle Construction has tennis technology scheduled to come surface, paint the surface and put down lines. And they're also going to do the existing courts that we have. We'll have a fresh surface all across there, and they still are having to get it. We're gonna have to wait until it gets dry for them to put the drain.
Yeah.
There's that area that's we've got to have the drain in, but it'll be adjusted and dealt with. Any other new business?
What time frame?
I'm
already getting calls.
No, I think
When's it gonna be open?
By the
2
end of
weeks.
June. By the end of June, I think.
By the end of June.
Yeah, I was out there this morning, they're stringing, getting ready to paint the lines.
Yeah.
Great.
They're probably working on it today, maybe, I don't know, I mean, I was out there earlier and they were already stringing it. What about updates on EMS and, the Sheriff's
So
Department?
Chris is right here. We would have ran out of EMS today, but insurance requirements, can you paint that picture?
Yes, so in order for us to stay compliant with Medicare, we have to have the VIN number of every ambulance, the address of every station on file with them. And a month or so ago, when I filled that paperwork out, I put June 16th, which is Monday. So we anticipated to start running our calls out there this week. And then I was reminded that we can't do that until we're compliant with Medicare, or we would not be able to bill for any calls we made out of there until the 16th. So,
And we don't want to do that.
no,
So
we don't.
That's just Monday.
So, no,
Yeah,
like,
Monday.
on Monday.
You'll start.
So, I would ask you to go out and go through there. At 1 o'clock, JR and I and Chris are going out there and trying to do an exterior punch. The inside, I mean, we've got furniture in there. The classrooms are all,
Yeah, our
they're
admin
having
is-
classes.
Our admin has already moved in, and we've already begun doing training out there. We just don't have ambulance staff there yet.
But on Monday, one of the things that had to go back and work on was the surface of the bays. And last weekend that happened, and they are so much better because the amount of what they call shark bite they put in the finish. It's very, very good. Might need to look at it at other places. But we'll schedule a ribbon cutting and all those things that I think we need to do. But I would ask you to take time to stop by and walk through. I think you're going to be very happy with the product. We're still waiting on 4 bunks, but Kentucky Correctional Industries gave us temporary bunks.
Right.
And we'll trade those out for the permanent ones. But Sheriff's Office, we've passed electrical inspection, I believe. All the windows are in. They've scheduled a punch walkthrough Thursday next week at the Sheriff's Office. So we're coming in the home stretch there, which is very, very favorable. And I'd tell you to, if you got time to walk through there on your own. I mean, they're painting and doing this and that, and feel much more confident that we'll get in there very soon as well. And then Justice Center, we had a meeting yesterday. They're going to be hanging steel here within the next week or two.
And the Commonwealth Attorney's Office will be,
Commonwealth Attorney will go into Sheriff's Office. I think Kelly's moved some stuff already out of necessity.
She got some stuff
Yeah.
over there already and some in our building.
So
as soon as they get out,
as soon as they get out, they'll
Gotcha.
get in.
So on the Sheriff's Office, they're probably not gonna look for a temporary, they're just gonna try to get it done and get you.
I think there'll be a temporary, Rick, I do.
I was over there yesterday, I was at both facilities, and you're right, EMS looking really good. Of course, they're still moving in. I saw a little bit of an issue with the drainage on the parking lot, in front
at
of them.
EMS.
Yeah.
And that's part of this exterior punch that
Sure.
we've already talked about.
Sure, yeah, you gotta address it. But the sod and the trees and the flowers growing there, really, it looks good for the community too, when they drive by. But, and then, as at the sheriff's department, they've got some work on the inside that's obviously lacking, but they are moving.
Yeah.
They're moving pretty quick. Did you hear anything, well, I think I made this comment before, back to the judicial center. They've been working weekends down here. Them guys are, even Sunday, they were there this past Sunday, working or whatever. So they're trying to rock and roll, I guess.
Well, Sam Howard of Trace Creek pulled me aside at the conference and said, Judge, I'm really happy with the progress. And he says, we're going to make up time.
Yeah.
So,
Working those weekends, they will.
Yeah. So,
What about, did you hear any more on the extension office? I know that they were in a bid process or something.
well, yesterday, JR served as my proxy at the Ag Extension meeting, and the bids came out. I had the Justice Center meeting that I couldn't go to the Ag Extension, so JR went on my behalf. And JR, you want to give court a short update?
Yeah, they were, very similar to the last set of bids. And, there was like 5 bids came in, I think it was 5. And, the board discussed, looked at everything. They were hoping for something a little less than what came out. And, so everyone agreed to, we discussed Marilla on the projects they've already done here. So they're gonna contact Marilla, get them in here and, sit down and see if there's any numbers we can cut. They would like to be at about $4 million. And then.
Were they the low bid? I don't know.
No,
You said-
they were not the low bid. Then we'll go from there. Really, no decisions was made other than to call Marilla and say, hey, let's sit down and see if we can do anything with this number you got and go from there on the past experience of the projects they've done with the EMS, soccer
What was
complex
the
and
lowest?
everything, so.
What was the lowest number? If they're trying to get to 4, how much are they trying to get down? How much are they over?
300,000, 400,000, something like that, I think now. I don't have them numbers here in front
Now,
of me.
another piece of the information though, they put $250,000 in there for
Yes.
tariff considerations. And people would have to, a contractor would have to show, hey, this costs more because of tariffs. And then there's also a $200,000 contingency. So there's 450 built in that if they didn't have to touch, would get them. Yeah, you probably, if they're probably right. But I'm just sharing what's in there. So we'll give you all an update on that, and that's all on the Ag Extension Board's
Yes.
decision. But
So
we'll
it's
share.
moving forward.
Sure, Pat, I don't think I have to do a virtual notice for workshop. Cam, will you look into that and let me know?
Yeah, look into that. I kind of agree. There's not going to be.
No action taken.
Do we have to do a
It's gonna be
virtual virtual notification for these meetings?
If anybody,
Yeah.
if anybody requests a Zoom,
So you can't request the day before anymore. I have to know at least 48 hours prior.
Can we just post them all with a Zoom option in case somebody needs it? Like, what if you woke up sick?
You just couldn't attend the meeting.
but going forward, could we consider that? Yes.
I think it would just make more sense. So if somebody woke up sick and still wanted to participate, they could do it from home.
Yeah.
And then they still could. It just makes sense to me.
The notice that we have asked for a specific date. So I don't know. We'll let Cam check it out.
Okay. Any other new business? Anyone else in the audience with any new business? Chris Rennie. Chris, speak up.
I have an out-of-state travel request for training. The
11 o'clock.
Right. Yeah. The National Blood Academy is hosting a whole blood summit in San Antonio, July 14th, 15th, and we want to send our training pay chief to that. $1,900, and it is in the budget, the new budget.
All right.
Did you say whole blood summit?
Whole,
Whole blood.
whole.
Chris, when is it?
July 14th and 15th.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We need to go into executive session, KRS 61810 Would there be a motion to go into executive session? Motion, second from Rick. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. David. would there be a motion to come out of closed session? Rick Costello, second by Ryan Pratt. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We are out of executive session. From that, would someone make a motion related to that discussion? Motion would have to be to file a lien in regards to code enforcement violation at Pemberley Cove. Is it two?
File lien on behalf of code enforcement?
Yeah, so it would be, we've got a final ruling from a code enforcement hearing regarding a violation at 108 Pemberley Cove Lane. And I believe, I'm anticipating someone would make a motion to file a lien on that property. There's been a $50 a week civil fine imposed for every week they're out of compliance. So the motion would be to file a lien in the amount that they owe. And then if the violation is not remedied within, I think, 60 days, the motion would also authorize pursuing any judicial remedy going to court.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion from, who made that motion?
Kelly?
Rick. And then a second, second Ryan Pratt. All those in favor, we're adjourned.